A lot of DJs these days rely heavily on aesthetics, outfits, stage personas, all that. But what makes someone like Salvatore Ganacci stand out to me is the absurdity actually feels intentional. Whether it's opening a set from the crowd, saying things like this,
Try to relax your anus.
or building an entire bizarre world through his music videos and performances. It never feels like he's hiding behind a character. Let me put you on Salvatore Ganacci. Emir Kobelic was born in Sarajevo, Bosnia, during the times when Yugoslavia was still around. Not way too much is known about his childhood except from him being a fan of football and American media.
For sure. When I grew up, my idols were Renegade. This is Lorenzo Lamas. In football, it was Stoichko and Hadji. This was like, they represented Balkan, where we all were proud of them, you know? Barcelona, don't get me started. I dropped tears of how beautiful they played.
But the name Salvatore Ganacci actually came from him and his friends' fascination with Italy. After the dissolution of Yugoslavia, Emir eventually moved to Sweden, where he later studied at Musikmakarna in Örnsköldsvik. In 2013, he released his first track, Zlatan, with his frequent collaborator Sanjin. Now I have to say personally, I'm not a huge fan of his earlier tracks. I feel as if they lack personality and anything interesting, and it blended with a lot of other DJs. While the music itself is still pretty conventional at the time, the visuals already hinted at the direction he'd eventually go. In the music video for Money in My Mattress, which was one of his earliest songs, you can tell Salvatore Ganacci is there. And honestly, I think Ganacci realized that too, which brought us to a massive turning point in his career. And in 2018, during week 1 of Tommorowland, Salvatore Ganacci suddenly exploded online. Billboard described it as an eye-popping performance, while NME asked, the best or the worst ever? All the discussion about Salvatore Ganacci's crazy performance only fueled the fire. People on Reddit were saying, I 100% support this. Not my style of music really, but it looked like people were having a good time. While others didn't have too many positive things to say about it. This is some Steve Aoki level cringe. Fucking awful music too. But despite the hate, this only marked the beginning of Salvatore Ganacci. But instead of toning things down after the backlash, Salvatore Ganacci fully embraced the chaos. In 2019, he released Horse, a track and music video that perfectly captured everything people had to come to associate him with. Absurd, awkward, bizarre, but completely committed to the bit. And if any of the clips in the video has caught your interest so far, I seriously recommend watching the full music videos afterwards, because they are genuinely hilarious. But despite how ridiculous it seems on the surface, Horse ended up winning awards at Cannes Lions and the Grammys, essentially the Swedish equivalent of the Grammys. And at that point, it became pretty clear that Salvatore Ganacci wasn't just a meme anymore. And Horse wasn't just a one-time viral moment either. Over the next few years, Salvatore Ganacci kept expanding the strange world he'd built around himself through tracks like Step Grandma, remixes for artists like The Weeknd, and of course the Boysicle EP, featuring some of the weirdest music videos I genuinely have ever seen. And with the EP even featuring collaborations from artists like Tommy Cash and Sébastien Tellier, combining Tommy's both playful delivery with Sébastien Tellier's incredible vocals, it became pretty clear that a full Salvatore Ganacci album was going to be something special. Unfortunately, I couldn't find much information surrounding the rollout and anticipation for his album Culturally Appropriate, but I can talk about the lead singles. The first track was Fight Dirty, featuring some genuinely incredible animation that you absolutely need to check out if you're remotely into animation. And somehow, the outro might be the funniest ending to a music video that I've ever seen. And beyond the visuals, the song itself felt like a superhero anthem. especially with the way that the 1980s anime sample kicks in throughout the track while still keeping the upbeat energy going. Then came Take Me to America, which you've probably already heard online before, featuring an iconic sample from Dobiosa Collective.
I'm from Bosnia, take me to America.
The combination of the trumpets, drums, and the overall energy generally makes this one of my favorite Salvatore Ganacci songs, and eventually culturally appropriate, released in 2022 to a really positive reception from the EDM community. And I feel this is where Salvatore Ganacci doesn't get enough credit for how genuinely versatile his music can be. This album jumps between styles constantly. If you sit down and properly listen to the whole album, I can almost guarantee there'll be at least one song you enjoy, even if EDM isn't your usual thing. Here are a few of my personal favorites.
Sexy narcoman.
But you might be wondering, how did I even discover Salvatore Ganacci in the first place? This could be the funniest answer ever. It was through Fatal Fury. When he was announced as a character, one of my friends asked me in chat while I was streaming, knowing that I like EDM, immediately asked me, "Who even is this guy?" And my response was basically, "I don't know." But after actually checking out the music, something just clicked. I completely fell in love with his discography, to the point where he ended up becoming one of my most listened to artists of 2025. And if you're into video game soundtracks, then traditional EDM, he's got that covered too. One of my friends, who barely even listens to what you'd consider normal music, genuinely loved the soundtrack work he did for Fatal Fury. But there's still way more to discover about Salvatore Ganacci than I could possibly fit into one video. But before ending things off, I want to quickly go over a few of my favorite tracks. I mentioned Sexy Narcoman earlier, but the music video is part of a hilarious ongoing storyline where Salvatore Ganacci somehow ends up having to outdance a group of elementary schoolers, and he goes on an insane training arc. And if you transition from that to the sequel Your Mother, the bass, the trumpets, and the vocal sample throughout the track make it impossible for me to not get hyped every time I hear it. The next track is Heart Bass featuring Tommy Cash. Definitely won't be for everyone, but something about this song just makes me want to turn the volume all the way up and start doing the head nod they did at Tommorowland 2019. On a completely unrelated note, I genuinely need a full Tommy Cash and Salvatore Ganacci collab album at some point. They got two bangers already on the screen here. If you're a fan of Tommy Cash or a fan of Heart Bass, check out the other two tracks, because I'm obsessed with them too. Give It To Me makes me punch the air and gets me pumped every time that sample kicks in. And the way that the entire melody is built around the sample just makes the song ridiculously catchy. I realize now also that most of my favorite Salvatore Ganacci songs involve brass instruments, so if you're a big fan of brass instruments, check it out. And for the most underrated Salvatore Ganacci track, I have a deep attachment to What Makes Us Wonderful. I honestly can't describe the feeling this song gives me. There's just something genuinely beautiful about it. Featuring an incredible vocal performance from Jimmy Somerville off Bronski Beat, the track somehow balances this really upbeat dance with this really emotional, almost inspiring atmosphere to it. It's the kind of song that helps you feel motivated, nostalgic, or even emotional depending on the mood you're in. And if it's one song the entire video I personally recommend checking out, it's probably this one. And for the final song, I'd recommend Step Grandma, one of Salvatore Ganacci's most popular tracks. It leans much heavier into techno, while also featuring a sample from the iconic Swedish song Håll Mig by Nanne Gronvoll. The music video itself even won a UK Music Video Award for Best Performance, which is especially impressive considering that the entire plot is just Salvatore Ganacci gaslighting this grandmother into believing he is her grandson. What? Salvatore Ganacci is the bad guy? At the end of the day, this is why I love Salvatore Ganacci so much. In a world where many DJs rely on aesthetics or gimmicks without much substance behind them, Salvatore Ganacci somehow manages to fully commit to the absurdity while still making great music. Whether it's live performances, the music videos, or the sheer unpredictability of everything he does, there isn't genuinely anyone else like him. And I really hope I get to see him live one day. So if any part of this video caught your interest, I seriously recommend checking out his music, videos, or even full live sets for yourself. But for now, let me put you on Salvatore Ganacci.